Uh, Good afternoon, or morning, or evening, depending on when you're watching this, if recorded. But if you're watching live, I'm confident it is afternoon, unless you're one of our few partners in Hawaii. If that's the case, aloha, and it's still good morning. But for the rest of us, good afternoon from beautiful Irvine, California. Now, we are just a hop, skip, and a jump from Disneyland. And I am wearing my Disneyland attire here. I have annual passes along with my, get this, 7 kids. That's a lot of annual passes. And for some of us, we went yesterday and not yesterday, Saturday, and we got on that new ride, the Ride of the Resistance. So if you have not been on that, it is pretty cool and pretty much worth the price of admission to Disneyland. But enough talk about Disneyland, other than we are here in Irvine, California, just south of Anaheim. And by the way, for some of you that are our Co-Brand Plus partners, and you might have listened to our last Co-Brand Plus training and certification, we talked about how we are looking at creating a summit of some of our partners here later on this fall. So if you're out of town and not from Irvine or the Disneyland area and you've been looking for a reason to come, we hope to have that for you later in the fall of 2023 as we bring in some of our partners here, and we can talk about all good things about helping people with their credit. And smart credit is certainly a component of that, but lots of other reasons to talk about helping people. So we hope to have that come. And if you're looking for a reason to get to Disneyland, then that could be it. All right, but for today, I wanted to talk to you about our ScoreMaster feature and the third reason scores change. I know that sounds a little strange. What's this third reason that scores change? But we're going to talk just a bit about ScoreMaster. And for those of you that are looking for a quick training today, maybe it's Monday and you've got a few other things you got to get done, this will not be a long training, I promise you. But I want to dive into a little bit about our ScoreMaster feature and how it is relevant. Okay, so what is our conversation going to be today? Why to use ScoreMaster and not how. So this is not going to be a demo on how to use ScoreMaster. We've done some demos on that in the past. My guess is if you search our training site, you can find some demos on that. I think most of you are probably very familiar with our ScoreMaster feature. We probably get more feedback from our partners about ScoreMaster than any of our other features. And because it is something that's unique to SmartCredit. I mean, let's face it, when it comes to things like credit report scores and the traditional credit monitoring, those are just commodities. And if I were to say our credit report or our monitoring is any better than some of our competitors, I really wouldn't be truthful with you. But there's a whole lot of other stuff in SmartCredit that surrounds that. And I think ScoreMaster is one of those awesome features you're not going to find anywhere else. And I want to talk today a bit about why you want to use ScoreMaster, but not get into the nitty-gritty about how to do that. So then part of that why is this third component of credit scores. And then finally, let's just talk about some of the things that are on the horizon that we have coming up. All right, are you excited? I am super excited. And again, thank you for being a part of this. Maria's on the other side of the camera here, always doing the good work that she does. If you've never had a chance to talk to Maria, by the way, just pick up the phone. She might answer, and she's got a lovely voice, but she's just an awesome person. And in the background, we have all of these awesome SmartCredit sales reps and our partner success team and our partner support team. You know, we have a group of probably 30 people that are just dedicated to your success. I know you see my face. I'd like to say it's a pretty face, but you see my face. Sometimes you'll see a few of our other folks on these things, but by no means am I the only one that's committed to your success. And there are a ton of people out there from partner support, Elaine's group, Riza, Eileen, Maravik, all these people out there that really want to see you succeed. And if you have not taken the chance to get to know them, I really encourage you to do so. And I like to say that there's the 4 Ps and why you want to use Smart Credit. Of course, you got our product, you got the platform that it's on, you've got our pricing and payouts, and then the last one is going to be our people. So actually, that's 5 Ps really, if you're counting. But I kind of put our platform and our product kind of under the same P. So, but our people, I think, are what really distinguishes. I know I'm sort of rambling here, but when it comes to our people, I can't stop rambling because I'm so excited about all of them and how they can make your life different, right? We talk to partners, and our partners, will say, oh, somebody else might pay me a little bit more, or this or that, right? And at the end of the day, it all comes down to the support you get behind the scenes, and you get what you pay for. And there are other competitors of ours out there that will offer you some things that are very similar to what we offer. Not everything, but when you need help or something's not working, they're not answering the phone, they're not responding to emails, and when that happens, it doesn't matter all of these other things. And so we are always committed to your support through our people, and that will never change. You will always be our #1 priority, you and your clients. And thank you for being a Smart Credit Partner. Hey, there you go, partner. That is another P. We're just, well, all right. Okay, so why use ScoreMaster? Why is it that it's important? Well, again, let me remind you, this is not a conversation about how to use our ScoreMaster feature. Okay, and by the way, we are renaming it ScoreBoost in the coming months. Okay, another little early secret from you're always going to hear stuff here first. So if there's no other reason, if you're looking for a reason just to watch some of these videos, is you're going to always hear things first. So I've been accused of sometimes spilling the beans, giving away little secrets and stuff. One day you're going to get an email and it's going to say, hey, we've changed ScoreMaster to ScoreBoost, right? But you'll have heard it here first. And so if nothing else, just log on to these training videos to get the newest insights and things that are about to happen. So ScoreBoost in the coming months. So really what I want to do is I want to talk about why to use ScoreMaster, why it should be part of your conversation that you have with your clients, why it can really have an impact on your clients' lives. So that gets us to this third component of credit scores. Now, there are 3 factors that drive credit scores. Okay, I spent 27 years working at TransUnion. Maria was there. Collectively, we talked to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of consumers that had all kinds of questions about their credit report and their credit scores and all of these sorts of things. Now, if I were to just pull somebody off the street and ask them, what is the main influence on credit scores? Most likely people are going to say negative items. And if you have a late payment, to a collection, to a bankruptcy, to a tax lien, all of those sort of negative items do in fact have a big impact on your credit score, particularly if they're more significant. A 120-day late is going to have more weight than a 30-day late. Depending on how recent they are, they're going to drive down your credit score. And if you want to improve a credit score, one of the ways you can do that is by removing negative information. And so I think that's what people are most familiar with. But there are also adding positive information is another way in which people will improve their credit scores. Now, probably the most common way that people add information to their credit reports is either by just applying for new credit and getting that. But of course, if you've got a new credit score or a poor credit score, getting more credit is easier said than done. And so a lot of people will then leverage authorized users. Now, for one of my daughters, who is, she just turned 19, she's in college, I added her to a credit card I had with Target. I think it's a Visa card, maybe it's a MasterCard, a few years back, right? And now that information had been reported to her credit report. And the presence of that information helped create a credit score for her. And then I added her to a couple more accounts, and have done this with a couple of my other kids. and, again, allowing them to establish credit. And I think in the credit restoration community, we're kind of familiar with leveraging that same concept with these, sometimes they're called seasoned trade lines or and whatnot, where you can go out and you can actually attach yourself to somebody else's credit card, and that reports to the credit bureaus. Now, I'm not here to take a stand on that. There are different positions on whether that's legal, whether that's not legal, and this isn't a conversation about that. But adding positive information is a way to actually influence a credit score to go up. And probably the final way in which people can add positive information to the credit report is through things that are more like non-traditional credit reporting. Now, Experian with their Boost program tried to leverage that concept, in which you can then join up for their product, which then gave you the ability to add data directly to their Experian report. Now, there's some limitations to that. You could only add data to the Experian report. It didn't make its way to TransUnion or Equifax. And then number two, it only survives so long as you are a member of the credit monitoring product. And I have to wonder if really the incentive for them to do this was not so much boosting credit scores that it is to create longer lifetime relationships within the credit monitoring product. But in any event, it was a way, and I think the public has become more familiar with these other non-traditional sources of credit information through the Experian Boost program. But the third component is paying down your revolving debt, or as we're more familiar with, credit utilization. And card utilizations will make up 30 to 35% of a credit score. I guess that's a lot. And of course, the best thing would be you have a zero balance on every credit card that you have. Now, how you're actually using that credit card sort of will also kind of drive the value of a trade line on the credit report. So I guess to say if you had 10 credit cards and they were all at a zero balance and they were forever at a zero balance, meaning you never actually charged on those cards, I don't know that that would be a good thing. Eventually that data kind of becomes stale. But if you can demonstrate that you're making charges on an account and then paying those down to a zero balance each month is a big deal. And if you can do that successfully, your card utilization, can really influence the score in a positive way. So how does ScoreMaster actually help with that? So what we're going to do in the ScoreMaster feature is we're going to look at all of the credit cards. We're going to present to you the credit limits on those cards. We're then going to give you the current balance that was reported. Remember, most data furnishers are going to report monthly. And so it's the balance on the credit card at that one moment in time. Typically, it's going to be the balance on the card at the time the statement for the credit card is made. So if you got a bill in the mail or via the internet, or you went online and it says you owe $500 on your credit card from your last statement balance, that's going to be the balance that reports to the credit bureaus. It wasn't always that way. There was a period of time where sometimes they would just literally, they would have a date, and Citibank might say, hey, we're going to report everybody whose last name is from A through F, on the 10th of the month, and everybody from G through K, on the 20th of the month or whatever. And then it was just whatever that moment in time is when they'd report it. But now most of the time it's tied to actually your statement balance, which is actually a good thing, because I think you have a greater level of control over that. With that said, what ScoreMaster is also going to do is it's going to tell you when that trade line will be reported to the credit bureaus. And it's kind of a game. So I put all of my expenses that I can possibly on my either my Citibank, American Airlines credit card, or I have a American Express Hilton credit card. And so the idea there is to earn the miles and the points and all of that sort of thing. So I am putting thousands and thousands of dollars of expenses from my utility bills to things like tuition for my kids in college, all on these credit cards. And of course, if I don't pay them off in full each month, I'm going to get stuck with all of the interest payments. And I don't want to do that. But if I can do it just right and pay off the balances in full each month, not only will I then incur the benefit of those airline miles and those hotel points, I can also then create a scenario in which my credit report tends to show that the balances are close to zero on these each month. So I have probably 7 credit cards, and some I use infrequently, like I have an Apple credit card that I tie to Apple Pay, and if I'm like at a concession stand or something, I might use Apple Pay, but I don't charge a lot on that. But I pay them all off in full each month. But how do what do I need to know that's going to allow for that data to then be reported as a zero balance in my credit report? Well, ScoreMaster is going to tell you the date that the stuff is being reported, and then you just have to pay off the balance down to zero on or about that date. So it takes a little bit of engineering and a little bit of management, but I have to know for each of my cards when they're going to report to the credit bureaus. And then I just do my payment literally like 2 days before that, and then that will pay it down to zero. And now inevitably, I'll probably have some pending charges that'll then creep up in the next day or two. And I try not to use that particular credit card for the few days leading up to when it's going to report to the bureaus, because I want to avoid these pending charges, because I may pay it down to a zero balance 2 days before the reporting date, but then the next day there's a pending one that goes through, and all of a sudden I have another $500 balance. So then I usually go in the very next day, and then I'll apply a second payment for any of those straggling pending things that kind of showed up. And I think I went 2 months ago, and I think if you look at the combined credit limits and things I have on all my cards, it's like $130,000, and I never charged that amount of money, but I was able to finagle it to where the total aggregate balances that were being reported to the credit bureaus was like $317. So it wasn't a lot. So, but that takes some work, and ScoreMaster is going to make that really easy for you to do if you're one of those ones that can pay your balances down in full each month. Now, obviously, a lot of the clients that are coming to you and are looking for assistance, they may not necessarily have that ability. They probably don't have 10 credit cards, and if they did, they wouldn't be looking for your services. But that's good information for them to know going forward. And then I want to get to this last bullet point. Not all payments are applied equally. And this is where ScoreMaster can help out. So imagine you have 5 credit cards. They all have balances on them. And maybe those total balances, go up to $25,000. Somebody, got laid off or whatever it is, and they've just accumulated $25,000 in balance on 5 different cards. Well, now let's say they get a tax return back, or they get a stimulus check or something like that, and now they have $5,000 that they can then pay towards the balances on those credit cards. Now, some people might say, well, just, pay $1,000 to each one. Is that going to give you the biggest improvement in your credit score? Or maybe you should just make the minimum payment on 4 of those credit cards and pay the remaining amount of the money, maybe that's $4,500, to one credit card and completely pay that off. Now, every scenario is going to be different, but with ScoreMaster, you can actually toggle left or right, and in this case, you toggle right, which would, that you're then going to be able to make a $5,000 payment towards your cards, and ScoreMaster is going to tell you exactly which cards to pay that to, and then it's going to tell you when to pay it by, because again, you want to make sure you time that to right before the information gets reported to the credit bureaus. And one of the neat things, if you can just time it right, I can literally, pay it down, it gets reported as zero, and then like a few days later, I can go out and charge $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 paying bills, and it can sit there at $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 in balance or whatever it's going to be until, again, just a couple of days before it's going to report the next time. So I was a little suspicious when we came out with ScoreMaster and how well that was going to work. I thought, being a credit bureau veteran, I understood all of that, but I still, despite my 27 years at TransUnion, really never fully understood when data was being reported to the credit bureaus and how I had to time things up so I could get those balances down to zero. And ScoreMaster really, I don't want to say changed my life, but it really changed my perspective and the way that I looked at things. And for me now, it's a game. I want to get everyone to a zero balance. So, all right, there are three components to credit scores, right? Removing negative information, adding positive information, and then paying down revolving debt. So we understand the value of paying down revolving debt and minimizing credit utilization. Now, ideally, you want to get credit utilization below 10% relative to the credit limit. Somewhere between 10 to 30% utilization is kind of the gray area where it will have some impact to your score, but not a major amount. But once you start going over 30%, and that's revolving month to month, that really starts dragging down your credit score. So ScoreMaster is going to figure all that sort of stuff out. We actually worked with TransUnion's former chief scientist, one of really the main gentleman that helped on TransUnion's end to develop the early Vantage scores and all the stuff that went in there. He was one of just a couple of people at TransUnion that actually could see the algorithms behind FICO. And so when he left TransUnion, we've been working with him here to help us refine our scores. So we take all of that knowledge and stuff, factor that into ScoreMaster, and understanding that it can impact up to 30 to 35% of your score, you want to use ScoreMaster, right? Not all payments are applied equally. So if you're going to make a payment and you can't pay everything completely off, figure out ahead of time where you can pay it and when you can pay it to get your biggest bang for your buck. All right, hopefully I have sold you on ScoreMaster. You know a little too much about my life and how I spend my money. That's okay. You also know where to find me at Disneyland with my 5 kids. There is no hiding. This is all there for posterity. Okay, let's talk about what is coming. What do we have in the future? Okay, now, this is, again, me sometimes getting a little ahead of myself here, but we are working on what I am calling dynamic links, which will then attach to other affiliate relationships that you have. So many of you have relationships with companies that help with student loans, to companies that, like card builders, or maybe it's, with some other third-party source that reports data. We want to create dynamic links within your co-brands in which you can then upload those affiliate relationships. So I may be a little bit hard to visualize, but kind of think at the top of ScoreMaster when somebody logs on to your co-branded website. You'd have to be a co-brand for this. This wouldn't work if you're an affiliate. So another reason in the future to upgrade to a co-brand if you're currently an affiliate. And by the way, we're running a hell of a special right now for December. If you're an affiliate, we can upgrade you to a co-brand for $129. It doesn't get any better than that. That's pretty much as low as we go. But that only runs through the end of the year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. But there'll be some links kind of at the top of your co-brand, which will only appear if we build your co-brand with them. And it might say Score Builder Card, or it might say Student Loan Assistance, or whatever other affiliate relationships you have. And then it'll have a link to that affiliate relationship that you have. And it's a great way to kind of keep your clients connected to other revenue sources that you have created for your business. So dynamic links, that's exciting. And then we're also working on alternative sources for data through SmartCredit, in which your clients can add that positive information to their credit report. So we may then offer some of these affiliate relationships that you can put up there. You may have your own, or other ways in which people can then get rental reporting, utility reporting, from electric bills to cell phone bills to gas bills and whatnot, and then debit cards too. So I'm kind of perceiving that some of these debit cards, where you actually put money in a bank account, you then spend money relative to the funds in this bank account, or it might be kind of a secured type of a scenario, that gets reported to the credit bureaus. And so we're actively exploring, and we'll have ways in which people can then get this other source of information onto all three of their credit reports. So not just Experian or TransUnion or Equifax. Of course, you want to get it added to all three credit reports. And then we're also working on ways in which we can create greater interaction with the credit score through simulation. Now, there are companies out there that have these legacy score simulators, and I kind of envision the ones where it's like, how much will my score go down if I add a new trade line, or how much will it go down if I increase my balance by this much? But really all it can do is take a look at increasing your total aggregate balance. It can't get as granular as to say, well, if I increase the balance on credit card A versus if I increase the balance on credit card B or credit card C. And then it might say, well, how much will your score go up if you add a 30-day late payment? Well, but you can't really go in there and say, well, what if I had 2 30-day late payments or 3 30-day late payments? And so we want to create a way in which you can create kind of almost unlimited scoring simulations, where you can play around with a lot of different things. And you could, like, okay, if I remove this one 30-day late payment from this one trade line, but I still have 4 30-day late payments showing up on another trade line and stuff, how much will my credit score go down, versus just saying if I removed all of the negative items. So we are actively working on creating greater interaction with our credit scores, because we really want to kind of, our CEO likes to use the term gamify, and it's really more of an immersive interaction with your credit report. And I think if you ever looked at what we call our SmartCredit report, which is the One Bureau TransUnion data, it's really a unique way to look at your credit report, much different than the way that you've traditionally looked at 3B reports. And even our new 3B report, and I know for some of you it's a bit kind of wonky, as I think any change can sometimes be. And some of you just like the old classic view, and for you all, more power to you. But for others, they really like the way you can interact more with our 3B report. And I think your clients particularly, for some of us legacy people, we just like the old standard classic views for things, because that's just what we're most familiar with. But if you take somebody new and they look at the classic versus kind of the new, more interactive ways, most of them would be telling us that they like the more interactive ways. So we are working on more interactive ways to understand your credit report and your credit score. So look at that, 28 minutes. That's a record amount of time for me. Do we have any questions, Maria? We have one question. All right. In the near future, do we have something similar to Experian called Credit Boost? So that is the idea that Credit Boost is a bit limiting in that it kind of ties you to, I think sometimes it like you link your bank account, and then the bank account kind of sees that you have a withdrawal for your power bill, or you have a withdrawal for your cell phone bill. And part of the limitation there is if you pay for it through like your credit card or something each month, like I pay for my cell phone bill and that for my kids on my credit card each month. And with that being the case, I can't do the Experian Boost with my cell phone because it's not coming out of my checking account. So, we're looking at ways where it's not directly tied to that, but rather, like, for example, you see with our money manager, where you can link like your cell phone bill, and then we can kind of understand some of that data real time. And through similar relationships with third-party companies that have those types of access points, where they then can aggregate that data and report it to the credit bureaus, we're going to do something more like that. So it'll be a little bit different than the Experian credit boost, but it kind of gets to the same end result. All right. Do we have any more questions? We just had that one. All right. Well, that was a phenomenal question. I got you out of here in a half hour. Thank you, as always, for your partnership. We are blessed to have you as our partners. I can never say that enough. In this, holiday of Thanksgiving and gratitude and whatnot, we are forever grateful for your partnership. We don't take that for granted. We want to earn your business every day. And so thank you for being a part of this, and keep in contact. We love to hear from you. All right, peace.